Welcome back to Jeff Koinangel live at the Villa Rosa Kempinski on this Inspiration Thursday that we dedicate to our men and women of valor. Kenya Defense Forces standing guard to keep us safe, especially following the events of last Friday where, well, scores were killed. We don't know how many until the government tells us. Scores more kidnapped by Al-Shabaab deep inside Somalia. What went wrong? Why aren't we getting the information? How come nobody's declared any days of mourning or flags flying at half staff? Well, that's why we dedicate this JKL to the men of valor. And on the show today, former Member of Parliament for Lagdera, former Deputy Speaker Farah Malim is in the house, as is the man from Emanuelia, Barack, with the 2 R's, Muluka. And FYI, I had invited the Member of Parliament for Tetu, Ndongo Gedenji, who is also, by the way, the chairman of the Parliamentary Defense Committee. He turned us down at the last minute, saying he had a briefing to go to. The show marches on. Gentlemen, before the break, we're talking about maybe we're trusting our neighbors too much. What, are we too trusting?
Yes, I think there's been quite a bit of that. And you remember in our shows, me and you, many times, I mentioned that. I talked about the adversarial nature of a relationship in that international relationship between two neighbors is that you don't trust anybody. That's why the French don't trust the English that well. The French don't trust the Germans. The Germans don't trust the...
Hundreds of years later.
Absolutely. They are together in NATO, they are there, everything else. But you clearly have your own things. But right now it looks like our entire leadership within the military structure has gone to bed with a neighboring country. Seriously gone to bed with a neighboring country. Because we took over and we sacrificed our own equipments and ordinances and everything else to clear Jubaland. And we allowed the political process in Jubaland to be taken over by one Gebre, who is a general from Ethiopia. Ethiopian general, who commanded the initial forces that went into Mogadishu before.
Yes.
And for some reasons, they're beginning to keep relationships between the different clans in a manner that essentially does not foster peace there. There's a long time strategy. There's a long time political conspiracy that Somalis sooner or later are going to come together and say, hey, we don't have friends, we don't have brothers trying to put us together. We have enemies taking advantage of our own state. Now, Kenya was going to avoid that. Kenya was seen differently by Somalis all along as a neighboring country that really welcomed and brought in the refugees and did a lot of things. But when we went in there, the parallel political process to allow us to endear ourselves more, to deal with the host communities, to deal with the pastoralist communities and the sedentary, the farmers and the urban people did not go as well. We still allowed that to be taken over by another country. We were paying the bills. We are endangering the lives of our own forces. We have a problem along the border, but at the same time, the political process is guided by another country.
Barack, at the same time, are you surprised that, so far, or maybe they're waiting for more bodies or more of the rescue to arrive, but no days of mourning, no flags flying at half staff, nothing, none of that. We're not.
No urgent cabinet meeting.
We're not hearing.
I think that we must speak about these things with candor. It's very, very important. We saw this morning photographs of His Excellency the President. He's still at the coast. He went there before Christmas. He's done Christmas. And I agree that the country is his. He can rule from wherever he may. But there are certain moments that require that one considers putting a halt to certain things. People may be forgiven if their interpretation would be that the commander-in-chief has not come to receive his people, bodies which are being brought in, and he's left that to the cabinet secretary, who most of the time is helpless. She doesn't know exactly what to do, whether she should be hugging these soldiers who are returning or she should be saluting, because there's such a thing as military discipline, military protocol, and you expect that the commander-in-chief, the C-in-C, must be in charge, and the C-in-C is also the president. He shouldn't be seen in that kind of posture where he's hobnobbing with his cronies at the coast, and he's busy campaigning for a small seat in Malindi instead of coming here to call a cabinet session to reflect on these things, where the rain started beating us, how we carry into the future. I think there's far too little being done, too late, and it's certainly depressing. You asked me 2 years ago when the commander-in-chief turned out in full jungle regalia.
Fatigues, yes.
Military fatigues. And you asked me, I was with my friend PLO, who unfortunately is not here today to speak for himself. Right. And I said, I didn't understand. I said I was still trying to understand. But I said, and I repeat, that that uniform was not about looking handsome in military fatigues. That if there ever was a moment when the commander-in-chief was required to put on those fatigues, it is now.
This is the moment.
This is the moment.
Do you agree, Mheshimiwa?
Yes. I entirely agree. With what Barack Moluka is saying. The commander-in-chief should be there. Officers, or rather presidents and heads of states and heads of governments, they leave international conferences when something like this happens, when a tragedy like this happens, even whether it's man-made or it's natural, like an earthquake or like a conflict like this, and you lose so many officers. You cut short your overseas trip. You came back to respond to that in the country, in your own country. Here we have our president, who is only a half an hour, 45 minutes air flight from Malindi to Nairobi, and has not come to receive the dead, has not come to put on his own uniform, as he puts it right now, and to marshal and lead the country in this moment of need, moment of grief itself. I think there's something that's really gone sad. Yeah. And when people in the opposition talk about Rachel Omamo, I think they're missing that fatherly, that figure, that military figure, that leadership itself. And I'm saying, even if we had a former general as our Minister for Defense today, or a former colonel or former brigadier, then things would be different. You would have somebody who is in charge, who has the capacity, who has the ability to deal with these things. She has the capacity in the sense that she's a brilliant Kenyan minister, and she would definitely do a very good job. There's no doubt about it. But this is a different area altogether. It's the military, it's death. Like he said, she doesn't know whether to cry as a mother or hug those young officers who are young enough to be her own children. Or to, to salute when the moment comes. I mean, there's a problem.
Absolutely.
There's a lacking here.
Barack, let's talk about now the homeland. With the equipment, of course, Al-Shabaab not only kidnapped troops, but they took a lot of equipment. They have it with them. Should we be at our highest alert right now? I was reading reports. We must stay vigilant right now, because they have the upper hand, if you will. They have this equipment which they could use on us.
Well, I think that high alert is of the greatest essence, because we are talking about the people we bank our hopes in, being the ones that have been hit, and civilian like you and I and the others who are watching out there get completely mortified, because we don't know what next. We need reassurance from the relevant instruments and organs of state, and that reassurance is going to emanate out of regular briefs coming from them in the right doses, of course, and also on the basis of the need to know, because we can never pretend that we do not recognize the sensitivity of the matters that we are talking about. Certainly, there are sensitive matters. Certainly, there are certain things which should not be said. But certainly also, when you just keep quiet and you disappear, and it's like business as usual, and from time to time we are told that 4 more bodies have come in. We don't even know whether those bodies have names or not. We don't know whether they have families or not. We have got every reason to feel unsafe, to feel apprehensive. And I think that one of the things that we would do as people, men and women of candor and goodwill, is to ask our government to now style up, to step in and start doing the needful.
But it's not the first time. Yes.
On the other hand, while they are addressing these things in a relevant manner, they should not politicize them and start running with them on political strums, as I've tended to see them doing, because that does not help. It's like pouring oil on the embers.
Absolutely. Yeah. But this is not the first time the government's PR machine has been wanting much more. I mean, look, many times they've dropped the ball. They've dropped the ball.
All the time.
You see, Jeff, that aside, to be honest, we are in a situation of blood, metal, death, destruction, and the rest of it. We're taking this thing very casually. We're taking these things very, very casually.
Yeah.
And you never know what's going to be the next thing. And every time the way we respond, we look inwards instead of looking outwards. You see what I mean? When we had right now there is a kind of a rumor, which is a very, very careless and very, 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 in my opinion, insensitive rumor, that the host community or the local community in that did not warn Kenyans in advance. Did we create this relationship? We are involved in both peacekeeping and peacemaking. When you're doing peacemaking, you're clearly trying to enforce peace on the people who are there. You must have the citizens of that country on your side. And there must be that powerful social responsibility between the military and the people who live around there, so that you can be able to get the information that we need. We haven't done that. And whenever there has been a problem in our border, we sent our planes there to go and rain death and destruction on the poor pastoralists who live in that place.
Yeah.
And in many cases, what we hear is that there are many people who have died who are not combatants themselves. So increasingly, you push the citizens of Somalia into the hands of Al-Shabaab. And they're seeing Kenya and the other countries who are in there. And the Ethiopians are not acting like that, for your information. Every time they are attacked in the past, they will try and deal with the attack itself. They gather military intelligence, first of all, before they make an action. Big question. When El Ade was attacked, why didn't the SNA forces come in to reinforce and try and break the siege?
But apparently they had been warned, SNA left.
Yes.
They told the Kenyans, hey, these guys are coming, and they left. So when Al-Shabaab came, because the SNA base was before the Kenyans, they found nobody.
Yes.
And then the Kenyans, flat-footed, as you say.
What about the Ethiopians who were there? Because the Ethiopians are not very far from there. They are actually the dominant force in Gede region. Where did they come?
Gentlemen, I want to take a break, come back, talk about the way forward. I haven't asked you this question before, but I'm going to ask you, should we withdraw from Somalia?
Yes, but I would say yes.
I was going to tell you to hold that question.
No. Yes, but not cut line and run. Not cut line and run.
So do a George Bush, do it in phases.
Precisely, we do it in phases, and we make sure, first of all, we
look at Iraq today.
We degrade
look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan.
We degrade the capacity of Al-Shabaab.
Okay, hold the thought, gentlemen. Keep tweeting at Farah Malim, at Barack M, at Koinangel Jeff. The hashtag we're using tonight, I stand with KDF. And the words of Alfred Lord Tennyson are ringing in my mind. Please Google it. Theirs is not to question why. Theirs is not to reason why. Theirs is just to do and die. Jeff Koinangel live at the Villa Rosa Kempinski, dedicating this Thursday show to our men and women of valor. Going to take a quick break. Come back. Plenty more in a moment.